What is up, everybody? My name is Chad Brock.
And I'm Zach Bailiff.
You guys watching the Orion Podcast. Greetings, y'all. How's that?
What up?
New
Feels
intro.
like it's been a while.
It's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since we've been here.
It feels longer than that.
We've both picked up new lighting. We look, very cinematic.
Clearly, the studio got an upgrade down here, so
we're working on it. We're getting better, and we should be, because tonight officially starts. And I don't know if we call it this or not, dude. Is it season 2?
Season 2? I don't know. We never really took a break. We just rolled on through.
No, we never really took a break, but it's kind of like the anniversary date. We made it a year. You guys have put up with us a year with the Orion Podcast. So happy to be here. Happy to have a brand new guest tonight. And yeah, we're still at it. Life happenings. So boat show, was that last weekend?
Yeah.
Weekend
yes. That was.
I don't know. It all blends together.
Last weekend.
I
think that was last weekend.
It's all like just jumbled up, man. It really is. I don't even know. But yeah, thanks. Got some people in the house. Got Jesse, got Gene, got Christian. Congratulations on our 1-year anniversary. Yeah. We've been married a year here at the Orion Podcast.
Yeah.
So
longer than that, truth be told. So yeah, it's been a long time in the making.
It has, man. And lots of good guests to come. Tonight's guest, no exception. Kind of excited. We're going we've not been to Missouri. Tonight we're going to Missouri. So without further ado, Mr. Chris Ritchie. I hit the button. It's on the wrong side. I turned it off.
Hey, there we are.
You got to be the big, and we're gonna stay small down here because this show's about you.
Usually, I'm big without being front and center anyway. So, hey, I'll take it.
How's things going out there tonight in the great state of Missouri?
Well, it's going. I think it's raining. We just got back from baseball practice, so that's fun. But yeah, it's going good. Waiting for spring, anxiously awaiting spring.
You
guys survived the ice storm, I assume.
Yeah, it was wild. I mean, honestly, it came in kind of out of surprise, completely. Where we were just kind of out and about, weren't expecting the storm that soon, and then all of a sudden, my wife's on the way to Springfield with some friends, and then if you don't know Springfield, that's where Bass Pro HQ is at. So she was on her way to Springfield and had to turn around and come back because in about a 5-mile stretch, she saw 3 wrecks. So
oh wow,
yeah, she kind of came up on us quick.
We got extremely lucky here in that line up through Indiana, and we actually didn't have much here at home, which was nice. So there's still hope. It's in the 60s here to tomorrow and today, and well, I don't think tomorrow, but later this week it'll be 60.
Next couple of days here, I think it's just
warm
and rain.
That groundhog was wrong. That's all you can say. The groundhog was wrong. We're going fishing in 2 weeks.
Let's hope.
Nah, we'll see.
We had the boat show last weekend, or maybe it was a weekend before. Anyways, it was when the ice came, and you could tell the weather was getting interesting because we went from a steady stream of people to no one. Pretty quick. So
yeah,
that tends to happen at boat shows. Like I usually go to the Louisville one. I was actually at the Louisville one probably about the same time you was at the one out by you. And you know, when the Kentucky basketball game comes on, it's like a ghost town. I mean, just everybody. It's like an ice storm, but it's Kentucky basketball. They will not be there if the Wildcats are on. Yeah,
just same way for us when the Chiefs played the Jaguars. We had another boat show, and as soon as the game came on, it was like no one. It was a ghost town, you know.
Oh yeah, people got to get out there and watch the ball game. That's good though. That's good. Jesse's telling us that in Florida it's 80 degrees for the high. We hope you enjoy the 54, Jesse. We hope you can cool off in the 54-degree weather just like we are up here.
Yeah, for sure.
Jump into this thing. Let's always like to on the Orion podcast get to know our guests, figure out how they got started in the outdoors. That's always the big question. So, Chris, let's lead off there. Okay. How did you fall in love with the outdoors? How did you kind of find out that, you know, you had a passion for just being outside and doing what you do?
So I think to start, it was a float trip with my dad whenever I was probably 10 or 11. And before that, we would go fishing on the lake and stuff like that in his boat. He had, the old V-bottom with the 25-horse Johnson, I think everybody's dad had back in the day. But it was never really like, and it was fun going out on the boat, but I was never really bit by that bug, I don't think, until we went on a float trip. And it was a miserable float trip. Why it was so influential, I don't know, but we thought it was going to be a 3-hour float trip. It ended up being a 9-hour float trip. And we were all roasted. I had never paddled a canoe, and it was me and one of my older brothers. He had never paddled a canoe. And so, needless to say, we didn't do a very good job. And anyways, that trip kind of solidified the outdoors for me, I think. But, it's really something that's like, the outdoors for me has always been something that ever since that moment, it's been kind of relaxing. And I've always had a high stress for one, whether it's self-induced or not, I've always had a lot of stress around me, And so it was like, if I could get unplugged from all this, anyway, I'm going to do that. And I kind of recognized that from an early age. Even when I was 15, 16, all the way up until I started kayak fishing, it was all about like, I just want to get in a stream and I want to walk up river and I'm going to fish every hole I find along the way, and so, excuse me. So, it's always been about the easiest way to get the biggest bang for your buck in the way of relaxing and hopefully being around some water, but not mutually exclusive to water. I like hunting and hiking and stuff like that as well.
Right on.
Yeah.
So as far as fishing, what are some of the things that you get into out there, different aspects of it, and what's your prime real estate as far as water? Are you lake guy, river guy?
There's sections of the lake that I like to fish, but really all of them end up, I end up a river arm or creek arm or something. And that's really the bread and butter for me. I don't know. It's just nice to be in an area. I have a creek here that I like to fish a lot. I call it Creek X because I don't want anybody to know about it. Even though at this point, I think Creek X is probably the worst kept secret in the area. But it's great because it's a small. There are parts of it that's literally only big enough for a big rig to fit through. I mean, it's narrow in spots. But then it widens out and you get these big bluffs and you get moving water and And every single time I hit it, I see something new. And every year, it seems like the river has completely changed. So
Right.
I can float the same spot 4 years in a row, and it always looks different. And, it's one of these things where you never know what you're going to see on the river either. Everything funnels to the river. And in a lake, I feel like you can miss that. You don't get to see all of the stuff around you as much because there's no centralized point. Of course, the water is a centralized point, but it's even more so in a creek or a river because, traditionally the land comes down towards it and, all the animals come down towards it. And it's, everything is funneled towards that water. So everything comes to the riverbank at some point.
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you're saying, going there and it being different every time you go. I think, there's a creek. We would like to call it Creek X, but we've done screwed that up on our own thanks to our illustrious YouTube career. But it changed, literally every time that we went down there, you'd get a big rain and you'd come back and just the lay of the land. It's like you have to relearn it and look at it a little bit different. This sandbar's moved here and this gravel bed's a little
channels
more
have
shifted.
Changed and
it's really crazy. What's some of the biggest surprises that you found, going back and looking at an area and going, holy cow, this is like way deeper than it used to be? Or
I'd say the biggest surprise I found was actually on another creek where there's a fork and you could go left or right. And left was always, barely any water in it. And it was full mud bottom. So if you had to get out, you're stepping in 2 foot of mud and you're probably losing a shoe. And the other side is, fast moving water. It's, no dragging, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's blind on both sides because of the way that it comes out at the other side and where the trees are. You really don't know what's on the other side. Well, I was with a group of people. I used to guide doing river fishing trips, and I was guiding. And I knew this stretch. So this is a total rookie move. I know this stretch like the back of my hand, and I knew exactly what I was doing, and I took that side. And it was one of those trips. It was like last minute book, and I needed a place I could put them on fish for sure. And so I went there, even though I hadn't been on it yet that year. And I went right like I always do, and there's a huge log jam.
Mm-hmm.
And the river basically ended there, but the log jam was so bad that this other side had all the mud washed out, and it was now the clear moving path through. And honestly, I think, the last time I was on that stretch, which was last year, it is now the main part of the channel. So it completely changed the way the river flowed around that little island or whatever. But that was definitely the biggest because I was with inexperienced paddlers, and I went around that blind corner, and I thought, we are all going to drown.
Oh, man.
It was pretty scary.
I can imagine.
But I whenever I was guiding, I was told by a survival guy, a whitewater rescue guy, always carry some like 1/2-inch clear tubing when you guide. And if someone gets pinned, like under the water, you can pass them that tubing and hold it over the water so they can breathe while you're getting them unstuck. Now, I've tried this in theory. I've never tried it in a high pressure position, but it was really funny because I placed tubing in each kayak. And, and I, in our safety briefing, I went through that. And before I could even tell this guy to stop, he was already pulling his tubing out. Like, he's like, something's about to happen, But thankfully, I was able to get out. I pushed my kayak up on the bank, and I kind of caught them as they were going, and it all came out like I knew what I was doing. But in all reality, I was scared to death. So,
yeah.
I think we've all had that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was definitely scary. I've had a lot of interesting things happen while guiding, but that was the scariest for sure.
Now, guiding, obviously, we've asked Jim Sammons this question. We'll ask you. Is there anybody you've ever wanted to knock in the water?
Oh, yeah. There was this guy who I took. It was him and his son. And the son was great. He was very respectful. He was 15 or so, but this guy was a jerk. And he wouldn't listen. But he was really the only one. Everybody else was pretty great. I mean, I never really had any issues. I had a guy, interestingly enough, he lived in St. Louis, which is about 4 hours north of me, 3.5 hours. And he was my age, and he had just sold his company, and he wanted to learn how to river fish.
Right.
And I took him on the first trip, and he sold his house and everything he owned, and he moved down here so he could fish the river the whole summer.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was real interesting. He was an interesting guy. He actually, so funny enough, he one day he's like, "Hey, can you store my kayaks for me? I'm going to be going away for a while." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. I got room." And he ended up moving to New York, and I still have all of this stuff in my garage.
Wow.
2 kayaks and
Wow.
probably $15,000 or $20,000 worth of gear. It's
Does he call and be like, "Hey, how's my stuff doing?"
No, actually, I messaged him not too long ago to make sure he was still alive, and he's like, "Yeah, I plan on coming down there this summer," but he moved to New York right before the pandemic started, and
Oh, wow.
had everything locked down up there, and
Now they won't let him out.
right, yeah.
It's like, we got you.
Now I think he's been converted, so he's just not wanting to come back. Yeah. What about you guys? What have you got? Have you guys seen any crazy stuff like that on the river?
Oh, yeah. The river is the river here. I wish, and Zach will attest to this, I wish that our river was this just nice, riffly, clear, clean river. It's
Clear,
not. It's dammed up. And
the farthest thing from it. Yeah.
It's the furthest thing from it. It is a life of its own out here, to say the least. It can be interesting. The people that you meet on White River here through through Indiana. We've met just to sum it up, we've met a guy sleeping in the back of a Toyota truck. He takes off riding a BMX bike, and this guy's he's definitely older than me. And he gets on this BMX bike, and he's got the dog on the leash, and he cruises up through town. And I mean, especially when it gets late at night, we had one guy, we was going down to the dam one night to do a little late night catfishing, as most kids in their 20s do, with beverages and having a good time. He proceeded to tell us to go down there, knock everybody out of the way, and own it. Just walk in there like we own it. And it's a great conversation. He was a little 3 sheets to the wind, but it was fun. And then we've got the fabulous, the great Asian carp in our river. So it's progressively getting worse. So it does take away from some of the fun when you get into some of the creeks and different things until you run into some super shallow water. But when you're on a big boat and you're cruising down through there, you can make them dudes rocket ship out of the water. I have been tattooed with one.
Don't forget the 8th wonder of the world, the Great Williams Dam.
The Great Williams Dam is the 8th wonder of the world. It has a hole in the middle of it. Quite literally, there's a hole. But it's still holding water. There's enough mud behind it now that it's probably about clogged up. So we're slowly silting in, if that tells you anything. Like, this dam's been up for so long now that our river system here is just slowly silted back towards from Williams to Bedford, which is I think they say it's about a 12-mile run a river.
Wow.
So it's you can literally at our bridge where our main put in ramp is, in the summertime you can literally walk across the river.
Mhm.
I mean, it may be up to your shoulders or up to your chest, but you can walk across there. But yeah, our river fishing life is locally
Very lackluster,
very
to say the
lackluster
least.
unless you get in the creek and paddle or pedal back to where the smallmouth are.
Right. Is that a functional dam or?
Not anymore. I don't remember when they stopped function on it. There's actually been some petitions to try to get it tore down, or turn it back on, try to find a way to, get it generating electricity again. But nothing like that seems to happen. It always seems to get squashed. So, and with the Asian carp, it's just a whole mess of its own at this point.
Man, I'm hoping we keep those Asian carp out of here as long as possible. But we had a guy post a picture of one not too long ago he'd caught, and it's usually when you find one, that's kind of the beginning of the end,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Those things spread bad and quick.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, to be on Kentucky Lake, I went down there when Jackson was working with the FLW back in the day, and went on one of those little deals. And I can remember sitting on the lake before all the tournaments kind of abandoned Kentucky Lake, and you look at the fish finder, and it's like, I mean, there was just fish stacked, but they were Asian carp, is what they were. And I mean, I have still to this day saved that image on my phone, and it's just an incredible reminder of how much that place changed overnight.
Yeah. I would say though, at least for our creeks here, probably the most the worst thing that's happened to them was probably COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Not near the scale of Asian carp for sure, but it was like everyone, everyone here figured out that there were creeks and rivers nearby that they could hit,
Mm-hmm.
and streams that you never saw anyone on went from like I said, not seeing anybody to it being completely congested, and every put in and takeout is full of cars.
Mm-hmm.
And even worse than that, the worst part about that is, number one, people are not respectful to the environment, as far as picking up their trash and stuff like that. But and I'm not one of these people that is a real like rah, you gotta catch and release, only.
Right.
But, these small creeks can't handle that ecosystem, can't handle people taking fish out by buckets,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On a large scale. This one that I call Creek X, real small creek, but a 20-inch smallmouth was pretty common. I wouldn't say common, but it wasn't a huge surprise. It was always exciting, but it wasn't like, man, I've never seen one of these here. It was
Right.
But it went from that to it's hard to find fish at all.
Right.
But I'm hoping that I have conflicting philosophies, because I always feel like we should be sharing the outdoors with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But people also, with that same breath, people have to be respectful of these resources, because they're not infinite, And so that's one thing that I really hated about COVID. It was initially, it was really neat to see everyone getting out in the water and stuff like that, but after a while, it's like, man, I have not seen this much trash at a takeout in my whole life. Or, this spot that has had fish for the last 15 years now has nothing,
Right.
So that was disheartening. But I think now that stuff has gotten kind of back to normal, I hope, it's going to take time, but I hope that all the streams get back to normal around here.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, and Here locally, for us, I think that when you look at it, COVID put a lot more people on the water, just like you said, and I think whether it was catch and release or just catch and take, I think that influx, such a great influx of people affected fisheries all across the United States. I mean, it got tough. It got real tough, but you unloaded a whole bunch of people that were tied up with travel sports and the different things. And, all of a sudden they had time and they went and bought kayaks. They went and bought boats. They went and bought campers. I mean, it was pretty incredible. I mean, the outdoor industry as a whole,
It exploded.
to say the least. There's a lot of good gear out there for sale now. If anybody's looking for used stuff.
Yeah, the used market's ridiculous.
It is.
It is. It's so saturated.
Yeah.
I thought that, that big burst of people, I told I have a pretty good relationship with our local Jackson and Orion dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, I really thought that the bubble was going to pop on that, for a short time, because all these people that thought they wanted kayaks are going to end up putting them on marketplace.
Yep.
But if the positive about that is it lets people that couldn't afford it initially get a better kayak,
mm-hmm.
and gets them a better introduction into the sport. But it does make it difficult, I think, on dealers for sure.
Yeah. And Zach, what are you seeing on the hunting side? Are you seeing a pretty big influx of used equipment out there, gear all over the place, where little Johnny's went back to playing travel ball?
Yeah, I mean, there's some of it out there. I mean, honestly, the used bow market, for instance, has been. I mean, it's been saturated now. I used to buy and sell used bows a lot to try and upgrade, every year, every 2 years. And used to, you could still get pretty good resale value out of a, 2-3-year-old bow. And now, I mean, a bow that's 8 months old, you're going to be, I don't know, half or less of what retail is on it. Mm-hmm. Even the carbons, just because there are so many out there. Wow. And it's not because there's people getting out of it. It's because there are that many guys now buying a brand new bow every single year and just ditching their old one for whatever they can get out of it. That part of it blows my mind. But as far as, through COVID and all that stuff, I don't know. The pro shops were, I mean, as busy as they could be. They were selling product left and right.
Mm-hmm.
My Hoyt rep and all the brands that he carries through Outtech, or he's not Outtech, he's one of the other rep groups, but Summit, I think. I mean, all his brands were doing really, really well. It was amazing. People couldn't go do anything else, so they got outside, which was awesome.
Right.
But I've not looked at the used market a ton, especially since, Craigslist is ate up with nothing but scams now, and Facebook Marketplace won't let you sell anything fun. Yeah, Facebook Marketplace won't let you sell anything fun, so
no.
that kind of eliminates your avenues for selling used hunting gear, as far as even archery sights and, I mean, barely used arrow shafts and things like that. But archery talk's still out there, and then you'll see some guys post some stuff through social. But
I love the cryptic posts where it'll have like a stack of books with a bow on top, and it'll be like stack of books for sale. $500.
Yeah. Cardboard box for sale, $975. It just happens to have a Hoyt logo on it.
Yeah, algorithm won't catch me. That's what they're thinking, I'm sure.
I tell you, man. The thing that's got me like talking about Facebook Marketplace and used stuff being for sale is ATVs. I've kind of had this little.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Little itch
that I don't need to have at my age now.
Yeah.
I find myself looking and going, and I keep looking at like the early 2000s ones, like it'd be a good wintertime
the good ones,
just to rebuild that, just restore. I'm going to restore it with all aftermarket parts.
Like a Banshee or something.
Yeah, like I even looked at a blaster the other day.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I need a 200 blaster, like I need a hole in my head.
Nick over at AAE, Nick over at AAE has a Banshee that is mint, and he just put a brand new full skid plate on it he got for Christmas. He fired it up the other day. It sounded fantastic.
Oh, those are amazing sounding beasts.
Yeah, they're terrifying.
Yeah, the old two smoke.
Yeah, right. I can't believe this that small of an engine makes that much power.
It's incredible. And of course now ATVs
and if you remember
going away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean if you remember the what was it, the Honda had the 250R, everybody'd stretch the swing arms way out on them so they could keep them on the ground.
Yeah, I'd like to find one of those too. You know what really this is kind of like way off the subject. I don't know how we got here. I took us here.
I don't either.
I took us here, but I've been looking at three-wheelers.
Yeah.
Like an old Honda,
the old big red.
Oh no, the old 350X, man. Get that old 4-stroke engine in there.
You know that stupid game that people play where they put their hand on the table and they take a knife and they go like between their
absolutely.
Yeah, and it makes it more fun when you're drinking, you know. Well, I feel like that's the same chance you take when you get on a 3-wheeler.
100%.
I've never turned down no, ever. I don't know if that says more about the 3-wheeler or me, but either way. I mean,
I always felt like 3-wheelers spent more time laying on their side than they did upright on their wheels. But
you know, you wasn't doing it right unless you could ride that dude on 2 wheels for like a mile.
Yeah.
Then you knew you were doing something.
We had one my parents bought us when we were really little, which is great, putting a little kid on a 3-wheeler, but it was a 50cc shaft, Yamaha shaft.
Oh,
and that thing was ridiculous, but we had rode it our whole lives and never had anything crazy happen. And whenever I was about 12, my cousin got on it and he ran that thing. I'm not joking. It looked intentional. I know it wasn't, but it looked intentional. But he ran that thing full speed straight into a tree, and I thought it killed it. I mean, he hit that, and it looked like a cartoon. Like he came up off the seat and right into the tree, and then he just laid on the ground and didn't move. And I was like, "Oh, great!" It was of course, at a family barbecue. All the women screamed and ran after him.
I've seen my brother do that a time or two on a dirt bike.
Yeah, and I got a cousin that me and Zach pretty sure he should have died a few times. Old Tyler could wreck one like nobody's business, couldn't he?
Jeez, yeah. No, I still remember that time he had it bounce off his head. Coming down the hill out there at my place that day. That was probably the most scared I've been in one of those situations. That thing ran up the tree straight over backwards and just drove his helmet face first down into the dirt.
Oh my God. His head broke
so much so that it broke the jaw guard on the helmet on both sides.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you've got that one buddy
that was wild.
Wrecked hard enough that it's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to call his parents. And I was probably that guy a few times, but everybody had that friend that's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to call his mom and dad. It's good times to be young again, gentlemen. To be young again. So cheers to everybody that's old with us out there now. We appreciate you reminiscing on 3 and 4-wheeler hour.
There's still many a day where I daydream about having my old XR 400 back. So,
do you still feel like you could do it?
No.
Once I got past the arm pump and got my forearms back in riding shape, I think I could get after it. But
I don't know.
I used to ride a Outlaw 500, the Polaris Outlaw 500. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I was thinking about the other day about how we'd ride it through the field pretty hard and be, throwing our weight into it and getting it to slide real hard. And we do that for hours. And I was thinking, man, I don't know that I could do that for 15 minutes without walking away with a limp and throwing my back out.
100%. When you hit the dirt, you're going to get up a little bit slower. I feel like you're going to be sore.
Oh yeah,
good week.
Yeah.
The recovery
yeah.
time
I wouldn't take this. I wouldn't take the spills near as well as I used to. But
no, absolutely not.
No.
But it's somewhere in my mind. There's still this like I could do it.
Yeah.
Especially like when you see some
or at least
with one and you're like, yeah, I'd like to show them that I still got. I just like to get on it and just crack it wide open. I'd be like the old man in that bicycle video I sent you earlier today, Zach, on Instagram.
I say that, but I don't remember how many years ago it was now. My brother come home with I think it was a CRF. It was one of the newer CRF 250s. It was fuel injected, and I rode that thing down the road and back. And I came back and I gave it right back to him. I said, "No, I don't want."
Yeah.
That thing was wicked. I mean, I was running 85 mile an hour up Templeton Road in like, I don't know, fourth gear.
Well, I don't know how your guys' wives are, but mine, like I'll be flipping, and the reels are everybody flips the reels. You get bored, you flip reels. Right. And I was flipping them on, Instagram, and every now and then you'll hear the dirt bike ones, and I'll sit there and watch the whole thing because that's just me. But I mean, it's almost like her head just spins all the way around. She goes, "No." Does anybody else's wife do that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got my version of the dirt bike sitting in the garage. The Jeep kind of satisfies that open air itch these days. So a little slower, a little more manageable.
My wife and I got actually when we were dating, I had an actual Jesse James West Coast chopper that I had bought.
Oh wow.
As a repo with 2,000 miles on it. It was an awesome.
That sounds about right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was 20 years old, bought this West Coast chopper. It was awesome, but I bought it and I'd had 2 or 3 other bikes before that. And I had it for like, I don't know, a year. And then my wife was like, we have a kid. You can't take the kid on the bike. It was rigid and everything, and so I held it. And then I thought I was good. I thought I didn't need a motorcycle anymore, especially after all this time. And then this past summer, my mom and my stepdad live in Florida, and I went down there, and he's got like 7 motorcycles, and he's a motorcycle hoarder, I think, and he had this Harley Softail. I think it's a 2010 Softail. And he's like, it's not been started in like 2 years. You want to ride it? So I went on a ride with him, and I got back, and the first thing she said was, "You're not buying one." Like, oh, come on.
Now mine goes another boat. Yeah. Yeah, I just need one more. Are you going to sell any? No, I might need it.
Yeah. So I'm thankful in the fact that my wife. So it's a double-edged sword. My wife really enjoys going out on the river in a kayak, especially in a canoe. I think she'd just stay home.
Right.
Especially if I'm in the other end of the canoe.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty thankful for that because I'm like, hey, it's time to buy new kayaks. And she's like, all right, what are you getting me?
Yeah.
But she's pretty into it. Now, it makes it difficult when my buddies want to go. And she's like, and I'm going too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, you're going too.
Oh, yeah.
But that's all right. It's give and take, I guess, right?
Oh, 100%. But, I mean, it is something we buy get these boats to fish. And a lot of people are like us, our initial intent is to go fishing or whatever, but they paddle well, they float well. And it is very nice to take your wife on a lazy Saturday to float on the lake, float on the river. And, my wife, she just likes to go to paddle, look at things, and she'll find a shade tree and read a book. I've told her not to get so underneath some of these trees sometimes because I'm just waiting.
Snake.
Just waiting. Yeah. Just waiting.
Yeah.
We'll find. I bet
just takes one.
I bet she can walk on water. I'm just saying.
I had an eagle drop a snake right into the center of my kayak one time.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the most patriotic thing I've ever seen.
How many holes are in that boat? Because I know mine would have a few.
I jumped out of that.
Guaranteed.
I jumped out immediately.
Oh,
but
man.
all I could think of was that song, Bombs Over Baghdad.
Oh yeah.
That's what was going through my mind whenever that happened. But it was the craziest things. Like, oh, there's an eagle. Oh, it's got a snake. That's awesome. And then it's like, oh, that snake's falling right at me. And so as soon as I saw it falling, I jumped and it landed right dead center of my kayak. It seemed intentional on me for sure. But
Jeez.
I wish I'd had that on video.
Yeah, that'd have been internet gold. Now you could have posted that on like TikTok and you've been making royalties off of it by now.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
then I could pair that song with it even.
Yeah. I mean, you probably had to give Outkast half the money, but I mean, you just still had 50%.
Yeah. Do you take your family out on the water much? Or?
Oh yeah, all the time. My daughter's got her 2 boats, and she's got so I sought after and found her one of the old Jackson Supercharger paddle boards.
Oh wow.
So she's got that, and she's still got it and still takes it out. We've got one extra set of fins left, so if she breaks the fins, she's pretty much done after that. But she still takes it out, and she's actually got an old Cruise 12 that she takes out. My son's not a big water person. He would go fishing with me when he was younger, but it was more like, we're not catching anything. Can I run the trolling motor? Can I do this? Can I do that? Right. And as he got older, he got interested in girls, and he hasn't found his way quite back here yet. But, one of these days, maybe I can see him, if he has a son or something, he'll find that interest to take him out, hopefully. If not, Poppy will do it.
Yeah.
So, and then my wife, she likes to go, like I said, quite a bit. She likes to go out there, float and read. And I kind of limit my fishing gear when I take her and just take a couple rods, a little light tackle box, and go.
Yeah, that's cool.
So.
I try to get my kids and my wife out as much as I can, but at this point in our lives, we're all going in different directions. We've tried I don't know if you go camping ever with them. Seems like I try every year. The last time we went as a family anyways, oh gosh, it was insane. So there's a stretch of river where there's about half a mile stretch you can actually paddle upstream pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, my youngest was 2, my middle son was 6, and my oldest was 11. And we paddled upstream. We looked like the clampets of the James River. Our kayaks were like full of chairs and tents and coolers, and my oldest and my middle son, they were in their own kayaks, but they had the skipper at the time. I don't know if you remember those.
Oh yeah.
We paddled up and had a great time. We set up camp. My wife accidentally, and she won't agree with me, but she accidentally caught a 21-inch smallmouth, which was pretty impressive.
Oh yeah.
That was with a Ned rig just sitting on the bottom because her line was wrapped around the eyelet, and she was messing with that. And then when she went to reel it back up, there was a giant smallmouth on there.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah.
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 If I remember right, Chase caught like an 8-pound pond bass doing that.
Yep, my son caught about an 8-pound bass doing that on accident. Man. Yeah, he just threw it out there, and Zach's like, "You should probably start reeling."
Your line is moving.
Picking a bird's nest out of his bait caster.
Oh my gosh. That's the best. That is the best one. And usually that, that type of experience will get somebody just addicted. Like they're zoned in from that point on. And usually from that point on, they won't catch another fish. they're just trying too hard,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But, we got up there and we set up camp, and so I had checked the weather forecast. I don't know, 3 or 4 times that day. There's a 10% chance of rain at midnight, which was no big deal.
All right.
And we get camp set up, and I hear my phone go off, ding, and I look, and it's a text from a friend, and he's like, "Hey, you're on the river, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Did you see the weather?" "Yeah." Well, there's rain, like a lot of rain coming.
Oh, man.
And I was like, we'll be okay. Then I get like another one from somebody else, and then another one from somebody else, and another from somebody else. And I pull up the radar, and it's about 11:30, so it's pitch black.
Right.
And sure enough, it's not. I mean, this is like, biblical rain, and so I'm like, great. So I wake up my kids, pack up this entire campsite, get everybody loaded in their kayaks, push everybody out into the water. My 2-year-old is asleep. We took our French bulldog with us. He's like barely cooperative because he's ticked off that I woke him up. And, push everybody out in the water. I get in my kayak, and I'm like, where is my son? My middle son was just gone. Like,
oh man,
wasn't there anymore, and it's black, So I'm looking all over, frantic, and then I shine a light up on the bank. He had banked his kayak and went back to sleep in the seat.
Oh my gosh!
So I tied a strap to the front of his kayak, and I had to pull him back to the takeout. He might as well just lay down in his kayak and went to sleep. But he laid back like this in the seat and was just out.
Oh,
but we had to paddle back to the takeout and load up and go home that night because it was about to get bad. And sure enough, that area flooded the next day.
Oh man. And you've heard the story with Jameson and Chris Funk and all them when they stayed on the river, when they did the Take Two promo stuff, and the daggone water came up while they were sleeping at night, and they all woke up floating on their mattresses.
Oh my gosh! I didn't know
that. They thought that they was good, and there was like an extra release on the dam, and yeah, it flooded out, and they all, Jeff Little and all of them, woke up. Man, they was sleeping, they was floating.
That's terrible.
They got out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, but they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. I'm thankful we don't have any. We have dams here, but not that'll affect the river level like that. Usually, they're releasing on the other side, so it's it's not too treacherous. But it's rain and camping is something I typically don't mess with too much, unless it's 10% chance. But obviously, that's not. That school of thought doesn't always hold true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know Jason Griffith.
Oh yeah.
So he and a couple other guys were camping. I want to say it was Big Piney down here, and anyways, they got their kayaks washed down river.
Oh man.
Yeah. So water rose while they were asleep, and thankfully didn't get to their tents because their tents were another step higher, but washed their kayaks down the river.
It's a long walk home.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say the Coast Guard or somebody, game warden, maybe found the kayaks. They were all chained together, so they all went down as a unit. But
Flotilla, I like it.
Flotilla. Yeah.
Now, you've got some other stuff that you're kind of working on. We kind of let you elaborate on that a little bit and kind of tell us you're starting a podcast.
Yeah, I'm in the. I've written out the first couple of what I want to do. The first couple episodes. and got gear and stuff like that. I've not put a date on when it's coming out for sure yet, but I'm hoping in the next month or so we'll go ahead and shoot the first episode. Probably won't be live because let's be honest, I'm not smart enough to do my first couple live. And then
we aren't either. We're still not.
Oh, I understand.
We're still not.
But yeah, it's going to be called The All American Dad, and you know, we'll be talking about everything that interests me because I feel like I'm probably the most average American dad you can find. So, but you know, we'll be talking about, you know, lifting weights and bourbon and you know, fishing and hunting and camping and all that fun stuff, you know.
There you
go. But it may be too broad, but I think, you know, I think there are a lot of guys out there that can relate and be interested in something like that. But we'll see how it goes.
Well,
yeah, no, I think it's a pretty valid topic these days with, you know, everything that's going on. Just the ideologies that are out there right now and the way some of these kids have been raised, it'll be good. I think, you know, even if it gets some folks interested and, you know, they want to pick up a new hobby or something to do with their sons or daughters or whatever, and just get them outdoors and get them interested in things. Yeah.
And so my wife and I, we help at our youth group at church and stuff. And I've always my wife is a children's pastor. And I have always been either involved in that or involved in youth for quite a while, the last 14 years. And I can tell you that every kid needs something to do with their dad, boy or girl, either way. And sometimes I think dads just don't know where to start, you know? And I've seen that a lot. And then sometimes there is no dad. And I think that is something that needs to be talked about too. I had 4 kids that were not mine, but I kind of adopted them through their high school years. You know, 2 of them had dads at the house that weren't really involved in their life at all. Then the other 2 just didn't have dads involved or around at all. And I've got to see those boys grow up and start their own families now and stuff like that. It's been pretty rewarding, but I feel like that's something that we got to pass on, you know, and talk about and encourage other guys to do. And it is a time suck for sure. Like I can't tell you how many times I had a kid call me at 3 a.m. and I'd have to drive 30 minutes to his house to pick him up because his mom's boyfriend was beating his mom up, you know, or something like that, you know, crazy stuff like that. But at the same time, seeing these kids, you know, 3 of them are in the military now, and seeing them do stuff like that and you know, having kids of their own is just as rewarding as, you know, watching my own kids do it. So, but like I said, I think, you know, these things need to be talked about in an open forum, and, you know, people need educated on it. And I don't think you get, so the majority of it, I think probably is learned through trial and error, but I think hearing someone else, you know, hearing about someone else having done it successfully is probably, hopefully, enough of an encouragement that somebody's willing to try it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, that speaks volumes. You know, the type of person you are, just and you've got a lot to offer in that, just like you said. I mean, you've got the outdoors, hunting, fishing, man of faith, and then, you know, weightlifting, different things like that. I mean, you've really got a lot of topics that you can talk to that are also good bonding topics, you know. I mean, for any dad or any social group of different Sorry, that was the wrong comment that was supposed to pop up. That's because somebody hit their mouse. That was like so inappropriate.
I wondered. I was like, "What? Interesting time to
My bad." See, you can't. So this is your encouragement right here. You cannot screw up your
I am
podcast.
encouraged.
You should be great.
Problem with the live. There's no editing that out.
No editing that. And anybody that goes to YouTube from now to forever will be able to see that mistake that I just made. Congratulations. So, yeah, that kid cracks his head openers. I don't know. Zach, take it from here.
No, like you said, though, I mean, they're all good avenues for, bonding experiences, or even like you kind of alluded to there, for kids to escape maybe a bad situation at home, or something of that nature. Get them started in that, and once they get their license, they're able to get out and escape and just kind of de-stress or decompress on their own, and pour themselves into something good and constructive, and rather than going a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. And we're kind of in a society, I don't want to get political, but we're kind of in a society where people are concerned about feelings and stuff like that, and maybe sometimes rightfully so, but I think anymore it's done to the detriment of especially young boys, because your feelings are going to lie to you, and I think, being in the military in the past and stuff, it's like you learn quickly in the military that your feelings will betray you, and that sometimes you just need to see a path forward, and even if it's not the right path forward, it's a positive path forward. And kids don't have that, if they don't have a good father figure in the house, they don't have that positive path forward, and where it comes out of there, is anyone's guess. It depends on the kid and the environment. But like I said, I've been around youth kids for 14 years now, and I've seen it go every which way, from jail to wherever. And sometimes it does still end up positive, but more often than not, it's not a good thing.
Right.
So
yeah, no, for sure.
But
I think with this, like I said, with when you look at kids today, and I do think that they are faced with different sets of circumstances than we were ever faced with as kids, probably based on our ages. With social media and the different things that are out there, it is hard on a kid. There's constant judgment, I guess would be the best way to put it. When you look at likes on posts and comments on posts and just the nasty things that people say, there's a lot of constant judgment, and I can see, how that can drive a kid's thoughts and things in a different direction than maybe we'd like them to go. So I think, having encouragement through, whether it's to dad, to a podcast or whatever, that starts that ball rolling, I think it's great.
Yeah. We'll see how it turns out, but I hope, that I can put some kind of information out there that, is useful in some way to somebody. But if nothing else, it'll be fun.
It's a blast. And, you've probably got a good taste for it here tonight. And it ain't nobody but the people in the room that are talking. And, we've got some comments filtering in here on the side, but really it's a conversation between the three of us. And people, I like listening to podcasts. I listen to different podcasts every day pretty much. And I feel like I learn something sometimes when I listen to them, unless it's the Orion podcast. And probably a lot of people don't learn much unless you want to talk about three-wheelers and
cracking your head open.
Yeah.
They learn how to run down a rabbit hole, if nothing else.
Seen a lot of rabbits today.
Yeah. We saw a 20-minute rabbit based on three-wheelers, I think.
I'm good with
Yeah, well, whether it's protein Pop-Tarts or old school three-wheelers, we got you covered.
there.
So,
We did have the Pop-Tarts comment. Jason Cassidy was in the comments on the Pop-Tarts. For those, yeah, it's a legendary.
Here we go again.
Yeah, they're great. I've got a stack of them on my desk at work right now. Hold
Hashtag
on.
not sponsored.
Not sponsored by Legendary Foods, the protein Pop-Tarts. In case anybody was wondering, they did have a giveaway going. They've also got cinnamon rolls for the record, Zach. Legendary Pop-Tarts, if you're listening.
Can you tell me anything I don't know?
We take some. For those of you that don't know, you probably can't see that. Legendary.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah. Amazing. You can pick them up on Amazon or at your local GNC.
I'm going to have to look those up.
What was they? 25 grams of protein?
Yeah, that's not bad. What about carbs?
Carbs was pretty low.
20 grams of protein and 5 grams of net carbs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think they got 24 grams of carbs total, but then they got some fiber and then some of that other carbs is erythritol, so that kind of cancels itself out.
Unless you get the legendary wild berry protein sweet roll. It's got 6 grams of carbs.
Interesting. As long as they don't taste like.
Here we go again.
As long as they don't taste like sugar-free jelly smeared on someone's foot, then we're.
No, they actually do not. They're actually really good. And I don't know how you are, Chris, but before I went fishing, like every time I had to get like the old Monster Energy and the old Little Debbie sweet roll there at the gas station before I took off. I mean, that was just like the white icing. I mean, if I was going to catch fish, I had to have them two things. Since I've grown up.
I remember those days.
Yeah, I've grown up, graduated to coffee, but in sausage, egg, and cheese biscuits. But
yes,
part of me still wants, if I feel like if I can bring these sweet rolls back and they're healthy for me, then like it's just good karma.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to skip out on the Monster Energy because I'm just getting too old. Black coffee's where it's at now.
I probably drink an unhealthy amount of caffeine. It's like I'll have pre-workout in the morning, for my workout, and then it's 300 milligrams of caffeine, and then I go to work, and I'm like, well, I need another, and I'll end up slamming a Monster while I'm there. Before you know it, you're at 600 milligrams of caffeine for the day, and it's like.
That's pretty much my daily dose, though. And by the time I burn through my pre-workout, I'm ready for another round. So
I can feel my resting heart rate in my eyeballs, I think.
That's how you know you're awake.
Yeah, that's how it keeps you awake, bro.
That's how you know you're awake. I could probably still fall asleep some days. It feels like, but no.
100%.
I keep, cold brew coffee. I can drink that as fast as I want to. And then, when it's cold outside, a little heated coffee. So I kind of move back and forth between my coffees, but the blacker the coffee, the better anymore. It took a while, but I got there.
Yeah. So I'm drinking, espresso.
There you go.
And I can drink it and go straight to bed.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I was intended to do that.
I like to call that caffeine adapted.
I concur, doctor.
Right. Yeah.
For all your medical advice and dietitian, follow us on the Orion Podcast where we talk about protein Pop-Tarts and caffeine regimens.
Right.
I hope that actually. So, like when you do these podcasts, just so you know, when it actually airs on YouTube, you get like highlight points where like certain questions were asked and different things. So these could very well possibly pop up in our search afterwards.
Gosh. Oh, I mentioned the C word too. Hopefully that doesn't kill your algorithm or whatever.
I don't even remember what the C word was. It'll be fine.
I do.
Uh,
I didn't even think about that. But it's
Yeah.
yeah. One of my
I don't care.
no.
Oh, okay. One of my coworkers the other day, I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I was drinking a Monster, and he came by and he's like, do you even feel those things anymore? And I said, well, I think I do. And he's like, I think at this point you're just going to have to move straight to hardcore drugs because nothing else is gonna...
Depends on how fast you drink it.
This
Yeah.
is also true.
Yeah.
If you guzzle it and it all hits at once, is it better?
Well.
Oh yeah, it'll wake you up in a hurry.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
But then you don't get to enjoy it as you sip on it. So
Yeah, see, that's my thing. Like I always, whenever I did pre-workout, I would always put like a full 32-ounce, 16-ounce glass of water with it, and then it's like I'm sitting over there sipping it, going, "I hope I wake up." And I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it.
yeah, I still do. I mean, all the one scoop in about 26 ounces of water and down that before I ever start the workout. So
You think it tastes any better with 8 ounces, like they say?
No. It's too sweet.
no, not for me because the flavors are too strong. I like to dilute it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put like 24 ounces of water with mine, but it's better if you just dry scoop it and then just chug the water. No, don't dry scoop it.
No.
You should edit that out.
I'm not built for that. I'm not built for that.
There's Instagram. There's Instagram reels and TikToks out there with people running down the road dumping that crap in their mouth. Can you imagine?
I saw a kid do that at the gym. He inhaled instead of, like when he was getting ready to drink, he inhaled and he choked. I thought he was going to die because it was like,
So,
and then immediately, he was like puking it out of his mouth. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah. If you inhale it dry like that, it burns like none other.
Never tried.
It's like, well, I've never done it with a pre-workout, but I dry scoop my greens supplement. Usually at night before I go to bed, and I've done the same thing with that greens. I kind of coughed as I did that, and it hit the back of my throat, and it was like somebody was holding a match back there. It burned so bad.
It's talking about that. Those green supplements just.
Oh, I can see why you would dry. I don't know what you use, but I was using First Form, and I love everything First Form except for their greens.
Yep.
Because I think the First Form greens taste like those mud pies you used to make when you were a kid. And it's like somebody made a mud pie.
Earthy.
And then threw like a couple strawberries in there and then stirred it with their feet. It's like,
I thought to me they tasted like unsweetened green tea is what the First Form ones taste like to me.
Earthy.
I've never had green tea that tasted bad. It's almost like they intentionally made it taste bad because they're like, let's see how dedicated these idiots are.
That's the one. That's still the one and only one I've used.
Really? Oh, that's I have a can
Yeah.
that's not open because the other can that I bought, I forced myself halfway through. But I started buying Titan greens, and Titan greens are fantastic. But I can see why you dry scoop those.
Yeah. And usually too, I do it right before I go to bed, and I don't want to drink a whole bunch of water right before I go to sleep. So that's
because you're getting old. You have to get up like 8 times a night if you drink that much water before you go to bed now.
I don't wake up, but usually when I do wake up, I feel like I'm about to burst. So that's why.
Gets better. Let me tell you.
Oh man.
Oh,
this podcast went great.
That's a whole nother Orion podcast.
I think we spent 15 minutes of this whole time talking about the outdoors. The rest of 4-wheelers and green supplements.
The rest of it we're just throwback memories and getting old and
I don't know
protein Pop-Tarts.
Protein Pop-Tarts derails us again. I don't know why. Fabulous though.
I'm gonna order some.
I recommend the cookies and cream or the red velvet.
Cookies and cream. Oh man, that's my love language right right there.
Oh,
dude, and you just put them in the toaster like you used to when you was a kid.
here we go. We're back
Yep.
on it. How did we end up here?
Jason Cassidy. Jason Cassidy again.
Jason, it's your fault.
It is. I'm gonna send him a message. All right, guys. Well, I don't know what we did for an hour and 10 minutes, but
What
Chris,
did we even talk about?
I don't know. Thanks for being here, dude. It was fun. I had a good time. I don't know what people learned.
Oh man.
Well, they learned not to dry scoop protein or pre-workout because that's a bad idea.
Don't ride three-wheelers.
And the only logical choice after caffeine out
Buy a good helmet.
for drugs.
There you have it. Tell the people where to find you. Tell the people where to find you on the social medias. Thank the people that you need to thank.
And where your podcast will be.
Yeah, where your podcast is going to be.
Podcast will be on YouTube. I have a channel and a Facebook page called Riverbound. I'm going to post it on there for now. But I will be starting one called the All American Dad. I already got a TikTok set up with that. I'll be rolling out all social media stuff for that. But also for me personally, for all my regular life and fishing content and life content and everything else that nobody's interested in, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. And yeah, that's about it.
There you go.
I've got a couple of, I think, what are high quality video productions on YouTube if anybody wants to check them out. And Creek X is featured on there several times.
There you go. There you go. Well, with that being said, we'd like to thank Jackson Kayak, number one, jacksonkayak.com. Check out your next Jackson Kayak and find your Jackson Kayak dealer right there on the old jacksonkayak.com website. Secondly, biggest things, Orion coolers, keeping it cool, inspired by the outdoors, built for the adventure. Happy to have them on board with us for this little thing we call a podcast. You can also pick your Orion cooler up and your Orion cooler accessories at jacksonkayak.com. Lastly, Z-Pro batteries powering Zach and I in our little adventures, kayak fishing, hunting. I don't know. They're adventures. Keeping us charged up. Shenanigans. So shout out to the folks at Z-Pro. Pick those up, zprolithium.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Who we got on the next one, Zach?
Good buddy of mine, Matt Davis, who I met, I don't know, it's been probably almost 10 years ago now.
Does he like Pop-Tarts?
He's actually, Matt's a Pop-Tart guy for sure. He'd definitely be down with protein Pop-Tarts. He's a good dude. He's in the supplement industry now. He's got his own business going in the upland space as well. He's a big bird hunter with the old shotguns, and still kills a thing or two with a stick bow. So he'll be a super cool conversation to have with him.
There you go. You guys got that coming back. Tuesday the 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern will be live. If not, catch it on the Spotify's, Google Plays, Pandora's, Samsung's, not Apple. We'll get there.
We're not there yet. I got to get that taken care of.
Yeah, somebody does. Be back Doc Talk the 9th of this week, Thursday the 9th. We'll be back next episode, Jackson Kayak Doc Talk. Check those out at Jackson Kayak YouTube and Jackson Kayak Facebook page. And I'm out of breath. Thank you guys for watching. We're out of here. Jerry.